Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast. This is where you go to learn how to use pure motive service to create higher value to grow your results. And now, here is your host, America's service sales coach, Joe Crisara.
Before we dive into our interview, there's 3 important things I'd like you to do. First, if you want to get the most out of this episode, I want you to implement what you learned today. Second, it's crucial that you take notes. Our team has put notes together already, so text NOTES, N-O-T-E-S, to 847-833-7912. Finally, my latest book, What Should We Do?, is the perfect reading companion to this episode. So head over to Amazon to learn how to win clients, double profit, and grow your home service sales. Now, on to the episode. Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara, America's Service Sales Coach. And I'm here with a really great friend from ProStar Plumbing, Brian McDermott. Brian, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Brian is a user of both Rilla and Service MVP, and today's subject is called Using Rilla and Service MVP to 3X Your Sales. Now, Brian said he disagreed with the 3X. Brian, what were you saying it should be called?
I said, why didn't you tell me 5X? Because that's pretty much what we're doing.
5X sales. Well, I was going to stay with 3X, and then if you want to go to 5X and violate that rule, you can go as high as you want. So that's great. Brian, why don't we first start by talking about Rilla and then how you're using Service MVP with Rilla, and then give people some advice on how to use everything the best. So let's start with using the Rilla. You've used Rilla AI to monitor your team. How was it accepted by your team? And give us some of the highlights that you've experienced since you've used that software.
Sure. So I rolled Rilla out about a year ago to the team. And at first, when I told the guys, hey, I have this technology and the software that I'm going to bring to you guys to basically start using this and help you guys really fine tune the sales process and really, get in touch with, any steps that could possibly be missed, but to help you guys at the end of the day, provide better service and make more money, obviously. So when I rolled it out at first, the team accepted it. I had about 1 or 2 guys that were like, I don't want to be spied on. I don't want to be monitored. And quickly within about 3 weeks of me onboarding and having a sample group of guys go through, their numbers just instantly just doubled. Some of them tripled. Some of them went even higher. Mm-hmm. So then it was like a led by the pack mentality. All of a sudden, the guys that weren't wanting to be part of it just jumped on it, and it essentially just started snowballing. And then now it went from I don't want to be monitored to, hey, Brian, can you listen to that call that I just did with this lady? I think it went really well. Can you give me any pointers on how I can do a little bit better? So it's been pretty transformative using Rilla for our business. And it's just a way for us to basically fine tune the sales process. And then it's in a way, Joe, where it's more than just communicating with the client. We're able to now take the data we pull from Rilla and really be able to show the technicians like, hey, do you realize that you're talking like 80% of the time in the house? Mm. And that you actually don't even really have a patience after you ask them a question. So we're able to take these analytical numbers and really look at it and break it down and hit those coaching points more than sometimes just following the script. Mm-hmm. So that's the part that really the guys are starting to fall in love with. And basically now they scrape their own calls and it's just been basically a wonderful process to get them just skyrocketed.
So it's turned into like a self-coaching tool for the guys. They can kind of look at it's like going post-game and looking at like if a quarterback looked at a play and he said, oh, look at that receiver was open. I could have done that instead. Is that pretty much how they're using it, would you say? Or?
Exactly. They're just executing on what they were just lacking. So it gives them a magnifying glass to basically zoom directly in to where they're weak. And they just adjust it micromentally, like every single week they're just working on it. We get the guys up there, we show them, we scrape the calls, we copy and paste some of the calls and show it to the team. So It's just been able to elevate their process, their customer service, which is the most important for us to make sure our customers are really getting the service that we want to deliver. So it's tremendous for us so far.
That's good. My second question was, how has that impacted the company culture and the profitability of the company? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So when we first started it, we were in a really good spot still. And then as soon as we brought on Rilla tied into Service MVP, and we started hammering it all out and just really focusing on let's getting really comfortable with like staying in our lane and just making sure we're hitting these processes. Some of my guys 5x, some of them 3x. It went from, some guys basically could never get into a house and sell a job over 500 to now their average ticket's 2,500. So the process just really helped them get the confidence and the belief that they could do it. But it was just the way that we were able to take away the one-on-one ride along, which techs really feared back in the day, where you'd ask them, hey, are you following the process? Are you doing the process? And they're like, yeah, for sure, I'm doing the process. Then you go do a ride along with them. Let's say you're out running the call and I'm with you. Then the tech's all nervous, right? They finish the call and then you go, well, what changed there? And they go, oh, Joe, I'm really nervous because you're with me today. Usually it goes a little bit smoother. So it's eliminated that whole process. Now they just go, they don't even know really it's on anymore, and they just go provide the best service and just get it done.
So tell us about how Service MVP has helped Rilla become a software that, it's one thing without the other becomes sort of problematic, because what are we really monitoring? What is the standard that Rilla is trying to measure, right? So tell us a little about how Service MVP kind of helps create that standard.
Yeah, so in my mind, Service MVP did create the standard, and when I uploaded your demand benchmark sheet into the software and the system, I started plugging away and getting the guys to really just fine tune that process. So I wanted to make sure that as soon as we put the demand benchmark in, or when we create the maintenance benchmark, that the guys are really following the process. But as you said, one wouldn't work without the other. I could have the software and it can transcribe the conversation, but is it going to work if there's no process to follow? And so with your guys' process, which in my mind is the most superior sales process there is, because it really speaks to technicians and breaks it down on a level where it's about the client and it handles all those objections that they're going to get before they present. So when we were able to implement that process and then my guys would do the calls, we just started from scraping it from the very top, from the on-site arrival to the convince me step, danger line 1, danger line 2, money warning, presenting the solutions, giving it back, the magic moments, using 4 walls. But everything in that process basically exploded for us and was able to skyrocket the revenue and the net profit and gross profit because they were following the Service MVP system, which made it so much easier for our guys because now they had a game plan. The blueprint was given to them. Now they just had to focus in and fine tune that blueprint while using your guys' process.
Tell us a little bit about, there's the online part that your people have graduated from Service MVP and then they come to the live in-person training here in Los Angeles. And what can you tell people, how many times have you been to a live in-person class here in Los Angeles?
So in the last year, I think I've been here 6 times. And the reason why I keep coming back and keep bringing my technicians back is because as a coach and as a leader in our company at ProStar, when I onboard the guys, I'm training them myself in the office. And so I'll make sure that I get the guys as dialed as possible before they go out and run these demand calls or maintenance calls. But after about the 1.5 to 2 month mark, I always like to bring them down here to have either yourself or Nick run the class, just so they're hearing it and getting the information from someone else. Because sometimes, me being the owner, and I'm pretty gung-ho about the strictness of how well we follow this and hit the sales process and use Service MVP tied with Rilla. But it's nice for the technicians to be able to come down here and get just a completely different person explaining, going through everything that we've been teaching there, have you guys do it your way down here. And it just really puts the icing on the cake by the time the course is over. And then the technicians go back and they just feel like their confidence has gone up. They're able to provide those good customer service points, make sure that they can talk to the clients a little bit more confidently. And it just really, really helps them understand that, hey, there's other people from around the nation. Some guys come through this course that are doing $50 million in revenue by themselves. Some guys are doing 1. And it really allows them to talk to other students in the class and be like, man, I used to be that guy that I really wasn't that confident in this process. And you're telling me you were here 2 times ago and you've just basically tripled your ticket. So it gives them that power to basically know that they have a community and they're really helped.
There's strikes me as 3 different kinds of owners who own companies like ProStar. that do plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and there's electrical and garage door and all kinds of trades. But the one owner is like doesn't want to invest in service MVP or Rilla because it's just I don't need more expense. Another one buys both things and they just throw it at their team and say, "Go ahead, guys, take care of it." And then the other one dives into it and says, "Not only are we going to do these things, but I am going to be part of it. And I'm going to serve the team by making sure that you have both of those things done in the best way possible." Tell us a little bit of commentary. Have you run into other people that have like said, "How do you get your guys to do all this stuff? How do you?" By the way, you're in the third category, which because Brian was just this week going, "Joe, let's go over Rilla. I need to get some better prompts." So he was, milking my brain over some better ways to prompt things, and I got to get those maintenance benchmarks down a little bit better. Let's work on that again. So he was kind of pressing me on that, which made me happy because it's like not only are you just a student of it or just aware of it, you're diving in and leading it. I call it leading by action, right? How important is it to you that, and if you talk to other owners that you've probably have questioned, how do you get your guys to do all these things? Can you give us a little commentary on that little area?
I've been fortunate enough to be traveling a lot lately, from getting back from Orlando to various meetings. And I've been running into a lot of owners that are asking me the same question. They're like, how did you onboard it? How does it work? What are you doing to do it? And I tell them all the exact same thing. I don't hand this off to anybody. It goes through me first, just like when I signed up with Service MVP. The leader goes first. I will break it down. I will get so into it and just scrape it every single day, fine tune it before I would even consider passing it off to make sure that I'm using the tool effectively. And what we're finding is some people sometimes are purchasing these things, and what happens is they're just kind of delegating it to someone who wasn't even following the old process. But they think just by purchasing this, it's going to fix the organization, right? But they're having the same issue that they had before. Nobody was really doing the old system or following the old process. So if you don't have someone that's already going to dive right into it and make sure it's getting done and you're executing on it, and you don't have a path for it or a 90-day plan of how we're rolling it out, you're just going to get stuck. But as soon as you just basically dive in and you allocate the time and you're like, this is what we're doing. I understand that this is the future that's coming. It's going to do nothing but benefit technicians. It's going to do nothing but benefit owners and help office staff just be way more dialed in, way more cleaner. And once they just kind of get that belief out of their head that this is going to be difficult to do, it's just implement it and just chip away at it. And at the end of the day, it's the most fulfilling thing because you actually do change the lives of your technicians and the people that work for you, your customers, because they're getting the best service possible. There's no way to hide behind it, right? The technology is there. The guys leave the house, they can see. And when certain technicians or even service managers scrape a listen to the calls, they're blown away that they didn't know that some of their technicians actually sounded that good in the house in front of a client, because they've only role played it with them.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit, you've been in all three phases of that where I'm afraid to invest in something like this, or let me give it to the guys. What's likely to happen if you just said, I'm not going to do that? Like if you said, I'd like to just give it to the guys. They should know what to do with it, and they watch the videos and all that kind of stuff, and then put the benchmark sheet in yourself. What would happen? You've probably been in all three phases, right?
100%. When I first started out, I had no idea what I was doing or how to roll things out, and it's just absolute chaos, right? It's chaos that you basically don't allow yourself to see because you don't want to see it, because you know it's getting done the improper way, right? And it's not until you take full accountability that you know it's getting done that where you can really see the other side of it. So to answer your question, yeah, it would just be organized. I wouldn't even say organized, disorganized chaos where they're just running everywhere. People aren't using it. They're not training. And then if you were to ask them, hey, you guys training? You guys using this stuff? Oh, yeah, Joe, we're using it.
It's going great.
For sure, yeah. We're doing well.
They're kind of gaslighting themselves, right? And gaslighting you too, right?
Yeah.
And then there's always that surprise that nobody ever used, that nobody even logged into it at all. Hey, Brian, tell us a little bit about the back to Rilla again, because one of the things I think that people are afraid of or not sure about is you transcribe these calls. This is just a mass amount of information that's given you guys that then they got to take forever to kind of go through the information. How's Rilla different from other AI programs in terms of the time it saves everybody? And how can you give us a verbal picture or paint a verbal picture about how Rilla works so people can demystify it? If you could give us sort of like a kind of a thing about how does this thing work? We know it transcribes the calls, and we know you can get a recording of the call, listen to it with the words and things like that. But you have to go through all those words, or tell us about how Rilla helps in a couple different ways, both with the AI and with the transcriptions, and how it can how it can save time.
Great question. So my average ride along time for me to do a tech, even if he's at a call for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I can get it done in about 5 minutes.
Hmm.
So the unique thing and the best thing I feel about Rilla is that there's an AI called Rick AI in it. And Rick AI is a technology in there where I can just type and say, did the customer give Joe a price objection? And it will instantly prompt and take me to the spot in that call where she might have said, hey, this seems a little bit expensive. So we can dig into that and it will prompt it. But also we're able to basically you can fast forward the call, you can speed it up, you can slow it down however you want. But the most empowering thing, Joe, is when you can actually just comment on a section where the tech did really good. So if it's in the convince me step and he absolutely nailed the convince me step, you're able to just copy that and you can either share it with the technician privately, share it with a service manager privately, share it to everyone, or you can actually just cut that and put it in a folder that has all the best calls that you think your guys have run. But also, it basically allows you to, with that part tied in with the Rick AI, you can ask it, what does the technician need to improve on? And it will generate everything from that call, and it'll actually take you to little prompts that will have numbers written by it 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you click on that, it'll take you to the exact time in the call. So you can go to minute 45 instantly and just quickly hear how that conversation went. So it's basically like it just feels like having like a genie in my pocket. And I just kind of like get to the lamp and I rub it, and it's just any information, any question I have, it's just met at that point.
You can see quickly. So normally, I remember normally a owner like you would go to your Service Titan or your software, bring up the call and look at the numbers, and maybe look at the option sheet, and then you have to kind of infer a lot of different things. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that looks like it was a good call, but you're kind of filling a lot of blanks in your mind on that one, right? Does really help to fill in those blanks, and also with the pre-installed benchmarks, right? That you can not only can you prompt it to say something like a custom thing, like what are areas that could have been improved on, but there's also prompts that have been pre-put in there, right? Could you explain a little bit about that too?
Yeah, so there's the prompts that have been pre-put in there from the benchmark. So I've loaded the demand benchmark in there, and it has each one of the prompts. So it'll give the technicians on that demand benchmark. If I put nine prompts that they need to hit, it'll give them all nine. And if they don't hit one of the benchmarks, it'll say 7 out of 9. Mm-hmm. But not only does it have that prompting, it also has a different prompt on a star system to the right of it. So let's say they did hit that prompt and it marked them a 9 out of 9. It'll still say, hey, the technician did really good at this point, but in the future, if he would just stick a little bit more to the script, or if he would have asked a further question, then it would have basically moved the call further with the client. So it's really good at just getting as much information, as much detail as possible, and just having it right in there. So when we ask the questions, when we listen to the call, we prompt it, it just spits out exactly what we're looking for to help them.
So it's like if a football quarterback won the game and had a really good day, but he had an interception. It'll talk about, hey, tell us how I could have avoided that problem or whatever.
Exactly.
And then it kind of like drills down. So it really kind of, because normally we would just not even hear that information, because the technician would say everything went great or whatever, and you think the same thing because it was a good call. We made money on the call per se, right? Tell us about how to make the actual money from it, though. I mean, so is it so people do this, you or them, so they can do it themselves too. They can look at their own, they can coach themselves and do the same thing that you were going to do.
Yep.
Then you can actively do it yourself, and you can send them the feedback via a text, or also via, what other methods that you deliver the message there?
You can deliver the message through a video as well. So I can basically write it, and it'll get to the guy and prompt them in their notifications within Rilla. But there's also a feature in there where basically it's like having FaceTime in there. So I can push the button, prompt it, and it's a video. And basically I'd be talking in a text and say, hey, Joe, the call went really good, but we were scraping the file, and it looked like that, you were talking about 78 words per minute. and we're like, and the client was talking at this speed. So, next time I just want you guys to be conscious that maybe let's try to match their tonality, match their cadence of speed, just to make sure that, we were on the same rhythm here and we're on the same pattern as them. But it's awesome because I can just cut that video in 30 seconds and it's instantly sent to the text. They open it up, they see it, they're like, gotcha. Right. And it'll just text us back and be like, no problem. We're going to work on that.
So you can send a video or you can send an audio to either just the tech, just the sales manager, or even the whole team. You could
Yeah.
even sell a celebratory message to the whole team that the owner doesn't have to wait till the meeting tomorrow. You could just kind of send a message of celebration if it was something that you want to say positive about a result of how you saw some personal growth from somebody. What effect does that have on the team when they see that have you done very much with the whole team or no?
Yeah, I actually do the whole team pretty much daily now. In the morning when we do our morning meetings, when we scrape the calls, because to your point, we asked the guys at first. I wanted to make sure and be clear with these guys, like, are you guys okay if I let some of the other team members hear this call? And of course, when the call went really good, they're like, yeah, I'd love for the other guys to hear, right? At first, they think I'm going to take this thing and use it for all destructive and negative purposes to enhance them. But no, it became really easy when we started taking the clips and I'd basically have the meeting in the morning and I'd say, hey, do you guys mind listening to this call? There's just a moment in there where Sean or Tyrone handled a situation with the client that went really, really well, where the client's laughing, the technician's laughing, and then they just get the job done and then the 5-star review hits the board, right? So it's moments like that we praise and we use it for. And it just really helps the team get more on board and they want the training, they crave the training. And then they look forward to actually listening to their own calls because, I used to ask the technicians and myself included, we would run a demand call for an hour and a half and then you'd leave the house. And after you leave the house, you're like, man, I don't even remember what I talked to her about. I just remember like the last 10 minutes and maybe the first, but that whole middle piece was missing. So now that we're able to just basically have a look at that whole middle piece, it's just really helping them just put the customer service to the forefront to help the client make sure that we take care of anything that they need in just the best way possible and leave them with just so happy with a 5-star review. And then they're calling us back to make sure that we can get in and take care of anything else in the household.
Well, there's got to be some downside, like of Rilla or Service MVP. Have you had any? Would you say what's the negative aspect of anything like this? I just want to make sure that we cover everything. This isn't just a cheerleading session. If there's something real that you say is a challenge or something that has gone wrong with it at all, what could go wrong with it?
In all honesty, Joe, the only negative would be to not use it. I mean, I found zero wrong with Service MVP, zero wrong with Rilla. That part is what would actually is right. The wrong part would be how it's being coached, not using it, maybe using it for a week, then turning it off. But for us and our team, there's been not one downside to either of those.
Now you're here in Los Angeles. Was it easy because you have Rilla and Service MVP to hand this off to a coworker? You have a coworker, Darcy, is thinking you told me. He's now doing your job because you're diving into it and because you have fun with this, right? It's like a football coach that loves football and you want to watch the game and you want to guide the team, and what an honor to do that, right? But when you're gone to Los Angeles for a week, for 5 days here with our in-house or training that we do here in Los Angeles at the Total Immersion Summit, you got one of your guys, Rob, with us this week, and he's doing really great. Who mans the ship, and is it hard to match the level of service that you're providing? Is there a big drop off with the guy who's providing this for you?
No, and that's, I feel really fortunate that we have the team built the way we do, where now Darcy, me obviously being in LA for the last 5 days with Rob down here, so we're a man down, and I guess the main guy's gone that takes care of all this stuff. But no, Darcy just shows up in the morning and he'll scrape the calls, or when he's got time after one of the technicians leaves a call, he'll scrape it real quick, and then he'll just write to the technician and say, hey man, you absolutely crushed that call, or tomorrow, we're going to set up a meeting. We're just going to maybe talk about this little point and have in their daily one-on-ones. But no, we have no fear of that because I believe we've executed it well. We've coached the guys well on it. We use it as a complete pure motive training tool. So there's no negative or downfall from me being here. I mean, I could be in Croatia and the same thing would happen, right? If I have 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the guys are getting coached, so it's not a big deal at all.
It's a random place, Croatia, but a fun place.
Yeah.
Brian, let's talk a little. I lost my track there for a second. Basically, well, what I do want to say this with the just the way the cycle of personal growth that you've experienced with Rilla and Service MVP. Can you tell us a little bit about? So you give them the suggestions, or they find it themselves. And then what? They kind of contemplate it before the next call, and then they see a result. Tell us how you see the kind of a cycle of improvement with between Service MVP and the way it gets to the final point where somebody does improve. How long does that take to see improvement there?
I can basically now have a guy, and I've done it, train with me in a 5 day, Monday to Friday, in my office. A guy that's never done plumbing, heating, anything to do with the trades, in a 5 day period, Monday to Friday. Have him on a truck the following Monday, and he'll probably be able to produce at like minimum a $1,200 average ticket on his first call. And the reason we're able to do that is because we've made the training so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And we just continue to get on it and scrape it. And I really try to dumb everything down as clear as possible and make sure we just hit the points. But because we're able to take a guy who can listen to a call from another guy who had nothing to do in the HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, garage door trade, and show him and get him to listen to a call in 45 minutes, he's like, so you're saying that guy was me
Mm-hmm.
5 months ago, and now he's this confident he's able to produce this much revenue? And I'm like, exactly. Let's just get it on board and just follow the system, and it just gets done. And it's actually so easy, Joe.
We talked about the management team before. I mean, you start thinking about it with training people and Service MVP and the action of a manager training this stuff and training the technical part of the job, and then using Rilla to monitor this whole thing. How's this affected? Like, I've had thousands of people ask me, do you have a service manager's job description type of thing? How does this change that job description?
Yeah, it's just basically, that's a great question, because I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm the service manager and Darcy's the service manager, but it just frees up more time for them to actually figure out and spend time and help the technicians. Versus, for the end of the day to come, and then at nighttime, the service manager might be opening up Service Titan, having a look at the daily revenue, or did we hit the goal, the daily pace report, and then he tries to structure the meeting for the next day, or he gets there. Now you can just structure that on the fly.
Mhm.
Like, as soon as the job's done, you can scrape the call and figure out and just have that debrief with the technician. So I think it's making the service manager role easier, as long as it's getting done in an effective way.
Yeah, I think before the old management style was the manager trying to figure out if the process is it's more of a process of looking at the software, the process of looking at the tasks, and just spending time with things like that. Now there's a process of spending time with the people and supporting, and they're getting more of a touch point throughout the entire day with the people at that, right? So, what would you say is a great balance? Is it should it be all just the people part of it, or is it process and people? Tell us the balance there between the two things.
I mean, for the balance part, I think you got to really just figure out what kind of culture you have in your organization. I mean, some people might like the more hands-on approach from a service manager, or someone like me who's involved with every call and tries to coach them on every call, versus someone that might say, hey, we'll touch on that in the morning and we'll bring it there. I just prefer the balance of, let's be on it right away and just debrief on it, because it just gets everything out of the way at that moment. But I mean, I'm indifferent for when it should be done. I just think that we're having the best results when it's getting done in the debrief, and they leave the house and we just say, hey, how do you think it went? Right? And they're like, man, I think I actually crushed it. And it's like, well, you absolutely did. You know what I mean? I've actually, copy and pasted that and threw that in Darcy's folder for him to listen, because, you just handled an objection that 20 other these guys are going to have probably within the next week. And now they have someone that they've heard do it in real time and handle it. So
You mentioned that you're doing it right now yourself with your team of a sizable team, about 10 people, I think you said, something like that you have. But as the company grows, what's the plan that you see? If I say look at ProStar Plumbing and Heating and Air Conditioning, 5 years from now, what would you say we'd be seeing? Give us a little bit of a look into the future for ProStar. What does that look like?
I mean, I'm always going to be super involved in it. I can't do nothing. I love to talk and help the guys. So I would obviously delegate it to another service manager, but I would basically be listening to the calls that he's been managing as well. So I'll never fully let it go, I don't think, because I want to make sure that I'm delivering my deliverables that I'm promising to my customer base, to my technicians when I hire them, because truly. The whole point of us and the reason I love being in business is I like finding people that come in sometimes and they might not have confidence, but it's like when I get them, my job is to basically find the potential inside of them and just unlock it.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that being able to scrape these calls has helped me a lot, especially with my personality and how I coach the guys. It's made it very easy for me to be like, okay, well, this guy came in and he might be a little different right now, but I'm going to find a way and I'll find a way to communicate with them and connect with them by listening and breaking these calls apart. And then you just see them flourish and they skyrocket and then they're happy. Right. So I don't think I'll ever let it go, Joe. But it's just how I am. I'm going to run it in 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, you're the kind of like service manager / owner. Eventually you'll probably be like more of a general manager / owner, and then probably just the owner in the future, where you're just kind of like coming in and having a team coming into a huddle and just saying how great everybody was. It's like, ooh, Brian was on the meeting today with this type of thing in the
yeah,
future.
We showed up.
You can say that and be a cheerleader for the company, like a lot of great owners are who have winning teams. Because even if you're if you're owner of a football team, you still want to go to all the games on Sunday, or go to the hockey game or whatever, go to the whatever sport you own. You're not just going to not watch your own team's games. You're going to watch every single one of the games and be the biggest fan probably of the team, right? See that in your future there?
Yeah, I mean, I'll always be there. When you create something and you're proud of it and you've assembled a team of guys that really have chipped away and helped you on that process, and you've seen them grow within it and flourish and sizable changes happen within the company. I'll always be a part of it, but as long as I don't end up like a Jerry Jones where I'm watching a team that sucks.
I get it. Well, yeah, then it wouldn't be very fun to be an owner of a team like that right now, right? If you don't mind, Brian, just give us a few words of advice about just your final thoughts to all the contractors and service and salespeople out there who are thinking about Service MVP and Rilla. Just give us your final thoughts about this as we close this thing up today.
Yeah, I would say just keep an open mind and don't be afraid to pull the trigger and move forward into that space, because I know a lot of people are afraid of Rilla or the AI movement that's coming, where it's a lot to handle and it's a lot to think about. But it's really a tool to just basically zoom in, help our technicians, help yourselves, help your office staff to just run a way cleaner process. And same with Service MVP. Like, I couldn't do any of this without those two together. So, I mean, with Service MVP, it's just the help we've had from Joe, from you, from Nick, from your team. I mean, Chris, TJ, all these guys here in the office. It just really enhances our product, what we're trying to serve to the client. So I would say just, definitely give it a shot. Reach out to either, book a call, talk to those teams, and just, watch yourself kind of accelerate and move the needle.
All right, everybody, that wraps up another episode of the Service MVP podcast. If any of you like this episode, just go ahead and like it or heart it or follow us. Share this with your friends and coworkers and people that you know and love who you want to see do better in this industry. And it's an honor to be here, Brian. Thanks so much for being on our show.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Joe.
All right, everybody, we'll see you on the next episode of the Service MVP podcast.
Make you the MVP.